Good evening, my fellow Americans. It is indeed Tuesday, July 25th, 2023. I'd like to say good evening to all of you. This is, of course, your host, Robert Duverny, for the Robert Duverny Show, which comes on to you every Tuesday at 8 p.m. You know, if it's Tuesday, if it's 8 p.m., there's no other place to be but the Robert Duverny Show. Well, today I have some good report with regards to the weather in South Florida. As you can see tonight, I'm wearing a sport jacket for the simple fact that we're at 86 today from the 100 we've become so accustomed to the last few days, so I had to wear a jacket. It was getting cold today. I figured I'd start with a light note. I can tell you, stay hydrated. Those of you who work outdoor, those of you who doing some sport activities, I encourage you to stay hydrated because we need you at the Robert Duverny Show. It's important that we have you on a regular basis. We cannot afford not to have our audience on, and we would hate to hear some devastating news when it comes to our lovely audience. We encourage you to stay hydrated. Those of you may not be doing activities out there outdoor, but it's important to stay hydrated. Well, tonight I'd like to give kudos to our first viewer here. She has been a wonderful viewer, a wonderful fan of the Robert Duverny Show. I'm referring to no one else, the famous Hermit Pierre from the great city of Miami, who, if there's a prize tonight, Miss Hermit Pierre, you are the ultimate winner. HP, Hermit Pierre, HP, House of Prayer. All right. Hewlett Packard, that's HP. All right. So, again, I am privileged to come here every Tuesday. This is a day that I look forward to be with you, either on your phone, on your TV set, on your iPad, wherever you may be. If it's Tuesday, there's no place I'd rather be but with you behind this great camera that I tend to bring you news. And tonight, on a somber note, I'd like to take this time to reflect on a man I've come to know some 15 years ago. This is a man who had a great admiration for his family. At the time, I met him through my line of business. As you know, I have my own practice that in Miami Gardens, and I help the community to the best of my ability. And we don't vent ourselves, but then again, everything we do it with class and dignity. And over time, we've developed this relationship where as it becomes a friend, becomes a family, extended family. Every one of my clients is viewed as family members, and that's a relationship that I've developed with them. Well, the person I'm referring to is, of course, Mr. Desamar Casimir, who left us too early. Mr. Desamar Casimir, I've known him through another family member. He is a man who had vision for his family. He managed to work odd jobs and to care for his family, and I have great respect for him. He's a man who lived in Pompano Beach, Florida, who would visit my office every so often in Miami Gardens and checking on his family's case, and sometimes just wanted somebody to listen to him with empathy. And I've always created that time to be with my clients. I always make time for them, and this is something I take to heart. Not long ago, I believe he has 3 grandchildren, and of course his wife. I was the one who actually filed a petition on the 4 family members. They all came in, and he was excited when they came in, and he wanted to give a donation to the office. And I told him, Mr. Casimir, you have done everything you could on on your end. You paid everything that was due, and you don't owe the office anything. But he insisted that the service was done with class and with dignity, and he wanted to reach out. But as a public servant, you don't stop your client from expressing their views, from expressing their appreciation, and I accepted it, and and he is still come and tell me news. And sometime when I go to Deerfield Beach to visit my brother, I would on my way back, I'll get off the pump and the exit and to pay him a visit, as I know he was getting up there in ages. He couldn't travel around much, and but he would always have something for me. There's a man who knows how much I love yam, and that's the reason why one time I developed a belly. And he would always have the best yam, and the yellow one, and sometimes the white as well. But he always put it aside. He would call me and say, "Robert, when are you coming?" And I said, "I will be there." And I learned the news this week, just last week, that he passed. And well, tonight, the Casimir family, I'd like to extend my deepest condolences to the family affected, also friends. The Homages firm also appreciate you, and we have nothing but heartfelt wishes for you. And we pray that your family continue to strive as you have always envisioned. And this Saturday, I will be there to pay my tribute, to pay homage to you. That's what we do at Homages, pay homage to those who have gone before us, those who paved the way. And you happen to be one of them. You were an exemplary man. And America is better just because of you. Well, tonight, I accept our condolences to the Casimir family. I will see you this Saturday to pay my last respect to Mr. Desimar Casimir. Until next time, thank you. All right. Okay. All right, folks. We have to jump to other news, and again, we have quite a few things we'd like to discuss with you. I'm sure I've already talked to you about the weather. To stay hydrated, very important. What I wanted, as you could see, what we highlighted for the show this evening was the hypocrisy in the Florida curriculum. This is something I'd like to touch base with you, and quite a few of my followers or fan who, while vacation, imagine that I'm vacationing all the way in Asia. And I'm getting folks texting me, sending me messages. What is my view on the Florida curriculum? The Florida curriculum, I should point it out to you, although you guys get to know it just this week. This is something that took effect, which was passed into legislation back in May. But as you know, since July 1st, that's when everything is enacted, and that's what everybody is getting to know about it. But at the Robert Duverny Show, it is my duty to always prepare. And when my name is called, or when a colleague of mine or a friend of the show would have questions, that we should be able to answer those questions adequately and to the best of our ability. And this is what we try to do on this show regularly. And we come here every Tuesday, not because we don't have substance or we don't have much to say, but the fact that there's so much out there, we tend to concentrate our effort on things that are relevant to both our viewers and, of course, our nation. And just this past weekend, I was at a function in North Miami Beach with a wonderful woman, Pastor Sarah Jean Bertroni, who had a health fair. It was out of this world. Well done. The panel who presented their case, to say the least, they were great. And at the end, I've approached a couple of folks, got quite a few folks who signed up to the Robert Duverny Show, subscribed to the Robert Duverny Show, and and it was a great thing. And I encourage you, those of you who may have a time, to always involve in things of that nature, nonprofit, things that are relevant to your health, and these are the things that are going to be pop up on your cell phone. I think it's important that we can associate ourselves with people who are doing great things and things that are relevant to both your health and also the advancement of our nation. I was reading just this week a quote that says, if you hang around with 5 people who are millionaires, more likely, you the 6th person, you're a millionaire. If you hang around people who are businessmen, and more likely you're the 6th person, you must be a businessman. And if you hang around people who aspire to greatness and who are doing great things, and as a 6th person, you are one of them. But if you hang around with people who are idiots, I'm sorry to say it, and if that's the people that you hang around with day, night, and you're more likely one of them. Let's associate ourselves with those who aspire to greatness, those who see the very best in others, and I could say the same thing for people with faith. If you associate yourself with folks who are warriors, prayer warriors, those who are fighting for the family to stay whole, you're more likely to succeed as far as holding your family tight, as far as succeeding in life, because you don't want to let go, you don't want to let your people down, the people that you hang out with. I mean, what story are you going to have to tell them? Think about it. So you have to be able to tell them a story that is relevant, and this is where that comes into play. All right, so I encourage you this evening to aspire yourself, read a book, and also find something that spark your interest. All right. Okay, I cleared the smoke. Okay, look who's here, my brother from another mother, Mr. Odilson Ambrose. Mr. Odilson Ambrose. I've not seen this man in some 3 months. He's a brother of mine, and I haven't seen him in some time. Oh, look who's here. His wife just popped up out of nowhere. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. Janet Eustache just popped up. Aliet Enriquez, all right. Look, I'd give kudos to Minister Pastor Lunia Gallen from the great city of Sunrise who logged in. You guys are the smart folks. You know, if it's Tuesday, I'm sure my wife probably in the background making sure that you logging in on a regular basis. I encourage you. You know, normally my wife and I, we have this discussion. Whereas if she's not home at night, my viewership tends to sink. Well, folks, I have news for you. Let's prove my wife wrong. Because I told them, you guys from the Robert Duverny Show are loyal. I think you should turn on your alarm bell when you know if it's 8 o'clock and it automatically pops up on your phone. Because I know most of you guys, your women will forget your shoes, and you'll forget your purses, and the men will forget their cell phone. But again, if you have the Robert Duverny Show pop up on the alert, you would not miss anything. I encourage you to do so, because if my wife is out of town, and that way my viewership would not sink. And although she's a great contributor in the background, she's doing all the work and some of the research to make sure that I present to you something that is relevant, and that's exactly what I'm going to be discussing with you. Again, tonight I'm glad that Mr. Odilson is online, and he's a fine teacher in Miami-Dade County. We're going to need his input on as far as the curriculum. I'd like to I'm sure I'd like to get him some questions in there, and I'm going to throw some questions out there, and I'd like for him to answer. Also, Dr. Azor from great state of Georgia, if she's awake, I would like for her to join the Robert Duverny Show. Dr. Azor, you're not in Thailand. It's time for you to wake up. All right, so Dr. Azor and I, we were, of course, my wife and Dr. Azor's husband and a couple of members we were both on that journey. So wake up, guys, because right now it's 6:15 in Thailand. We're about to have breakfast now, but I'm the last one to get out of bed normally. So je dois faire la graisse matinée. Hein? Ça c'est génial. Hein? All right. Well, folks, we're switching topic real quick. I'm a student of history. I tend to go back to history because history tells me how the future will be. I always share that with my viewers and, of course, those who come in contact with me, how important it is to know your history. We could look at the Haitian history, which is rich, U.S. history, rich. Again, it tells us who we are as a nation. It tells us where we're going and what we've accomplished and where we ultimately reach. So tonight, I'd like to speak with you just before I jump on the hypocrisy of the Florida curriculum that is established for middle school students. I'd like to speak with you on the Freedom Riders. As you know, in the 1960s, there was a time of great. 1960s was a time where things were vibrant here in the United States. As you know, 1960s is known for a lot of murders. The assassination of JFK and November 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. And later on, in 1965, you have the assassination of course, Malcolm X. And later in 1968, April 4th, 1968, that's a day I'll never forget, April 4th. That's when NATO was created. Actually, that's going back to April 4th, 1949 in D.C. And April 4th, 1968, we would later learn the death of Reverend, my champion, my hero, Dr. King, Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, on April 4th, 1968. And just a few days later, 31 days later, in June 4th, of course, Robert Kennedy Jr. was later assassinated in California. He was by a gunshot wound. So the 60s were a time, within that decade, it was a lot of things were happening. I just wanted to give you a blueprint how the 60s were busy. That was the busiest decade in the U.S. And of course, 1964, we have the Civil Rights Act, which passed. Also, 1965, the Voting Rights Act. So as you can see, every year in the 60s, something happened, and sometime twice within that year. So I think it's important that we can go back to history and see what we have accomplished and where we have been as a nation and where we're going. The reason I'm pointing this out, my fellow Americans, is those of you who may be parents and those of you who may have an urge for history, and ultimately we tend to repeat history. We tend to repeat what's been done. And where I'm going with this is the very fact that in May 5th, 1961, we have the Freedom Riders. The Freedom Riders were a group of blacks, African American, who were looking for equal treatment, equal rights. They were, of course, Martin Luther King was part of it, as Dr. King became famous in 1957 after giving a great speech after the Montgomery bus rider. So Dr. King is making it himself visible on the general audience, and they're getting to know him. And on April 5th, or Cinco de Mayo, 1961, the Freedom Riders actually took a trip to go Alabama to actually go through to protest and all that good stuff, because there was still segregation in the South. The South is known for segregation. I think we should know that, and I encourage you to take a page of history. Once I'm done with the show here, go on Google, do your research, go to the library. Please, folks, please be educated when it comes to things of that nature. Oh, thank you. I have a cousin here, Wolf Milton Duverny. Keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. Thank you for logging in. You get a chance to see me live here. I think you get to see the show on replay, but it's good to have you. I hope to meet you someday. He's a great man right here. He's a Duverny himself. We'll get to meet you one day, sir. All right. So to go back to what I was saying, so what happened is the Freedom Riders, they were marching. And I'm going to go back 10 years prior, stay with me. 60s, we're going 1950s. Those 1950s were famous for the Greyhound. How many of you guys rode in the Greyhound before? Raise your hand. All right. So Greyhound, as you know, 1950s. I'm a student of history. I'm bombarding with history tonight. 1950s. That's when the interstate highways were created in America. There was a great movement in America. We're creating highways, and then the Greyhound came up at this time. And then, as you know, they wanted to abolish segregation. In other words, interstate, you could not prevent someone from getting on a bus. As you know, in 1955, with Rosa Parks, who actually got into a bus, and then later she would not given her seat to a white passenger because she's an American citizen. All right, why should she give her seat up to not to an elderly man, not to an elderly woman who needed a seat, but some Bojo wanted a seat, and then what's the point? All right, so she stood her ground. There you go. She stood her ground. She would not she would not cede her seat. So and just so you know, in 1950s we have the highways, and then Greyhound that you know right now would go to the interstate, would travel to Alabama, New York, and all that good stuff. And they were traveling interstate, but now the laws in the books was that segregation had to be stopped. But some state, although it was a federally mandated, but it was not executed at the level of the state. So the states were left with their ability to do the heck they want, unfortunately. And those Freedom Riders actually they were traveling to Washington D.C. to protest and to make the voice known. And when they got to Alabama, they encountered some problems. And then as you know, bus stopped there when the bus got there in Alabama to stop, and then the government in Alabama wanted them to sit in the back of the bus. Although remember that at the beginning I told you that segregation, was abolished. In other words, the federal government mandated that there's no more segregation, no more separation of the bus. Everybody could mingle among themselves, either white, blacks, you name it. It wasn't an issue. But then again, when you come at the state level, and with Alabama, Alabama always been in the news, always has always been, and they're known for that. Just like Florida's known for weirdos, unfortunately leaving the state. But hey, Florida is known for that. We've done some stupid things in the state, and you have Alabama. Again, it's always a southern states. For some reason, there's something unique about southern state, the way they operate. They they are unique in their own way. Well, the notion where I'm almost there. I'm about to land the plane right now. Just those of you, I'm sure you guys still there. You guys staying steady. I like that. I like when you guys staying steady. That's you with me. All right. Mrs. Angie French, I'll thank you for logging in. Thank you. It's a good thing you guys stand put here. I'm looking at my thermometer here. You guys stand steady. So things must be quite interesting here. All right. So here you go. I'm about to land the plane right now. So the reason why I'm pointing this out is the simple fact that those riders, they were stopped, and then there was confrontation on the part of the state. The Freedom Riders, as I mentioned earlier, those Freedom Riders, they had competition. They had competition for the simple fact that those in the southern state, particularly Alabama, they wanted to have a counter intelligence, whereas they would have a counter Freedom Riders. Whereas they lobbied African American who were poor, those who were at the very bottom, those who were uneducated, those who had no choice, homeless, and they would bust them. Now, hear me out now. They would bust them in a Greyhound, and they promised them that they're gonna send them up to Cape Cod. Cape Cod, I should point out to you, Cape Cod is the home of the of the former president JFK. JFK has his vacation home in Hyannis, and it's a great peninsula, beautiful in Hyannis, and also Cape Cod. They will tell them that they would go there, and just so they can meet the president and have a good time. There's good jobs waiting for them out there. There's housing. They offered them a host of balonies, things that were not existed, and to my great surprise, as I was doing some research, it was this lady named Lanny Williams. Lanny Williams was a single woman with 9 children from Arkansas. They lobbied, they actually got to her, they brainwashed her. They told her, well, ma'am, we're going to bring you to Massachusetts, to Cape Cod, at the presidential vacation home. Here, when you get there, he will greet you, and then things will be perfect. And my God, wasn't that lady happy? So she was picked up and got in the bus with her 9 children, and even now the recruiter, that redneck recruiter who was in the bus, at one point I got off the bus and took the kids for ice cream. And kids, they don't know if you're black or white. They don't care. You give them ice cream, they're happy. And as the bus was driving, after 30 minutes after driving, the Miss Williams asked the bus driver to stop to change her clothes. She wanted to put her best, because she's going to meet the president of the United States. This is what she was promised by this redneck, this racist dumb. Okay, and that's what she was promised. So she went and wore her best Sunday dress, and got in the bus and then changed, and all her kids in, and they're singing "Kumbaya." We're gonna meet Mr. President. And when she got there, they dropped her off. Yes, they did drop her off at the Cape Cod, the home of the president, Mr. John Fitzgerald Kennedy. But then again, unfortunately, Mr. Kennedy was nowhere to be found, because there was no such meeting planned prior. It was devastating, and I've learned until her death, she would never talk about that bus ride to her children, and she was devastated, and then that's how her country treated her. And then that was sad. Well, in a nutshell, my fellow Americans, reason why I brought you all these news and all these researches is I'm sure most of you may have learned in recent months there has been a lot of talks. Again, full disclosure, at the Robert Duverny Show, we don't take side. We, again, as you know, those of you who know me on a personal basis, and those of you who've known me through the lens of the camera, I've always been impartial in my judgment, and I think to be a public servant, it requires a level of authenticity. It requires an open mind, and I tend to be objective in my views, and those are plainly my views. I'm not paid by any network. I'm not paid by any social media. I'm not paid by any political parties. But again, I believe this is what we need in America. Those who are transparent, and those who transcended politics. And that's exactly what you have in Robert Duverny Show. I'm putting this out for the simple fact, just a couple years ago, you heard the term caravan. I'm sure most of you probably don't even know what caravan is. Caravan, look it up. Caravan, again, I'll make it easy for you. You don't have to. I want you to stay tuned with me. Caravan is when a bunch of people gathered together. It's like a caravan, a lot of people, like exodus of people marching toward a cause. I mean, going somewhere. Okay, one vision, and to invade a particular place, and just for their own benefit. That's caravan. Now, they demonize the folks coming from South America. They demonize the folks coming from Latin America, from the Caribbean, particularly Haiti. that's what they do. I mean, the fear of the unknown, and the only way you can suppress the unknown is to fight it. Again, my fellow Americans, point attention. It's 8:30. Normally, the Robert Duverny show normally lasts half an hour, but tonight, the fact that my viewers been steady. They have not logging out. I cannot ask not to. Mrs. Gallen, and ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news. My fille, Marie Raymond, just logged in. I've not seen her in ages. This is my fille from City of Miramar. She logged in this evening. Thank you for logging in. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Odelson, for your 2 thumbs up. I got the green light from you to continue. I will do so. It's getting interesting right now. It's getting interesting. I'm about to land the plane right now. Well, here's the catch now. You've heard the previous administration talking about the sanctuary cities. Sanctuary cities are cities that tend to be sympathetic to immigrants. We have those. The likes of New York, California. The likes of Chicago, the likes of Massachusetts. Those are the states that somehow show some. They're normally on the northern state, as you could see, either on the west side, on the west coast. So they tend to be sympathetic. They sympathize with the with migrants, because they know that we are a country of immigrants, but with law-abiding citizens, and this is what we want: legal immigration here. I should full disclosure: we always want nothing but legal immigrations. That's key. Legal immigration. I'm all for that. I'm all for that. Again, transparency here. All right. So now, just recently, my governor, Mr. Ron DeSantis. Yeah, that's how you have to call him, sure, pronounce his name right. And also Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott is, of course, my lovely cousin who just celebrated her birthday just this past weekend. Congratulations. This whole month is your birthday. All right, stay tuned. Happy birthday, cousin. All right, so now what happened is Mr. DeSantis, Governor DeSantis, along with Governor Abbott, they had a consensus among themselves to embarrass the Biden administration. Again, full disclosure, I have no dog in this fight, but I'm just here to extend my knowledge and show the hypocrisy on the part of these governors who so-called Christians, who cares about a human being, and they're the first one who are going to raise the Christian flag, and they're full of crap. All right, they're full of crap. I'm telling you that, my folks. Therefore, I wonder what would Jesus do if he were here. I'm getting pissed right now. I'm upset now. But then again, this is complete hypocrisy. But hey, send tight, my fellows. Stay tuned, because this getting to a point where we need to expose these people for who they are. What did they do? These guys are not smart. Well, I'm much older by Mr. DeSantis by a couple years. Mr. DeSantis, with all due respect, I've watched your campaign in 2010, and I've also I thought you sound like a reasonable man, and who had a vision for the state of Florida, and of course with the help of President Donald Trump, who carried you to the finish line, and that's how you became governor. And of course, you have a state that is diversely impactful. Everybody aspires to be here, and not just because I'm here in the state, but I think it was a great work that we started many years ago under the leadership of past governors, and then you enjoyed it. But again, I have to give kudos to you. But when we see what's been happening lately, by busing the migrants, you even Mr. DeSantis even got migrants from the state of Texas. Again, like I'm saying, he's working in concert with Greg Abbott. Okay, he got migrants from Texas and using taxpayers' dollars to fly migrants from Texas. I mean, actually, he bused them from Texas to the state of Florida, and from Florida, he put them in a plane and flew them to Cape Cod in Massachusetts, which is where the home of that. Then again, it's a liberal state. Okay, they will send them there to embarrass Kamala Harris, the VP. Again, the reason I'm bringing this, I just want you to see the analogy here, the parallel here between the counteract action by the segregationists back in the 60s, who actually bust African American, the elderly, the poor, the marginalized, okay, promising them jobs, promising them better life by sending them to the president home in Cape Cod and Hyannis in Massachusetts. So Mr. DeSantis is a smart man. He may have done some research. Or at least his team may have conducted some research. Well, let's go back and play the same tactics that was used in the 60s. It worked back then. Well, it didn't last long, but it only lasted 2 months. They were hoping that it would last 10 years. Only lasted 2 months. That it fell flat on its face. So Mr. DeSantis using the same playbook. Well, I've already seen this movie. Now, he's not using the blacks, he's not using the African Americans, but now they're using the migrants. And just simply to embarrass the administration. So, now, where's your compassion as a governor? And where's your compassion? Is that the best you can do? So are you, Mr. Abbott, in Texas? Busting these migrants and sending them to New York, sending them to Maryland, sending them to Massachusetts on the doorsteps of the VP and also the president home. So this right there is simply unethical. It's a low life. All right. I mean, these people can fight you. That's the reason why you're fighting them. That why you're putting them to dirt. You guys don't have cojones. It's embarrassing. I'm embarrassed having you as a governor. I am. That's all you can do. You're using the same play. You use the same playbook in the 60s by giving these people false impression, false information, false intelligence, only to embarrass the current administration. Well, you could have worked with them, put something on the table. But then again, I understand you, Mr. DeSantis. Reason why both you and Greg Abbott is doing that, well, you want to get, Mr. Donald Trump is taking all the oxygen in the room. The only way you can stay relevant is by doing the most outrageous thing. So the whole thing in the 60s were to knock the Northerners off the high horse. Knock them off of the high horse. Well, by bringing these blacks, these folks who were low life or didn't have much, uneducated, at the doorsteps, and they would not want them to be at the schools, the churches, the supermarket. They'd be on the streets. So that was the whole thing, just to embarrass well, since you so-called sanctuary cities, since you so-called fighting for African Americans' rights or freedom riders, well, here I'm sending you these people. That was a playbook they used in the 60s. Well, today they're using the same playbook by sending these men. Well, they cannot send the African American, they're sending the migrants over there. Well, I would just want that to sink for a minute. Let it synchronize in your mind for a minute and see the level of hypocrisy. Again, that's exactly what's happening once more. Yes, my cousin, yes, so sad but real. It is. Well, those of you who are parents, those of you who are teachers, I'm sure Rosalind Jean Lois, both her kids are right now graduated, they're college bound. That may not happen to you, but those of you who have children in middle school, according to the latest legislation, I mean, Florida has a new curriculum that will be taught in middle school. According to newly approved education guidelines in Florida, middle school teachers must now teach students about the various duties and trades performed by slaves, such as agricultural work, painting, carpentry, tailoring, domestic services, blacksmithing, and transportation. So, again, I'm going to do the parallel, the hypocrisy. They want to show you that the importance of being a slave. So Mr. DeSantis, with no cojones whatsoever, would not walk a block in Liberty City without getting his butt kicked. Now he's sitting up there in Tallahassee, and knowing that he got Trump behind him, Trump gonna throw him under the bus any day now. Watch. Well, Trump has no loyalty. He's not even loyal to himself. So just so you know, this is what he wants to be taught. This is what Mr. Odilson Ambrose will have to teach right now, because he's a public servant. Mr. Odilson Ambrose, unfortunately, sir, this is what you'd have to teach in your classroom. The benefit of slavery. Now, you remember not long ago in January, there were some scholars who were lobbying for AP, for some African American studies to be taught as AP, and the Florida Board of Education shut it down. Said no, we can't teach that. Now, you telling me that it's not worth it for African American kids to learn about the contribution to our great nation? This great nation that we enjoy, it wasn't just on one race, it's all. When I read the Declaration of Independence, it says all men are created equal, and that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's that sink in for a second. All men. And the greatness of America is not in one man, no group of men. It's in all of us. I think it's important that we can teach our children, either, I don't care what race you are, unfortunately. I think it's important that the fabric of America is based on all of us. So now, by teaching these kids that it's important that they know that slavery was good, it taught these folks how to be a blacksmithing, how to be domestic service. Is that the best we could do? No, seriously. Now, you shut it down back in January. It was no, we can't do that. But now you want to teach these kids, brainwash that indoctrination in middle school. Folks, I got news for you. We need to do our work at home. Oftentimes we let these educators, those folks in Washington, those folks in Tallahassee, dictate us how to run our kids. We need to do our part. We need to do our part. That's what I'm doing my part. I encourage you to do the same. Teach our kids values. Teach our kids the importance of our contribution in this great nation that we enjoy. So don't let little DeSantis, okay, telling you that, hey, the benefit of slavery. This is the most horrific thing. The notion that slavery is deeply controversial and historically contested topic. For you to go around and teach that in the classroom, that's abhorrent. I can understand a mixture of the two, saying that we need to own it. Slavery was wrong. It was detrimental. We could have done better. We need to face reality as a nation. Just because we're not talking about something doesn't mean that we put it away. Just dust it under the carpet. We haven't done so. Eventually, you have to get rid of it. So tonight I call on you, my fellow Americans, to be mindful of our politicians, what they are after. I encourage you tonight to take a page of history. Read history. We see the importance of history And sometimes you can say to yourself, I've seen this movie before. And we can do better as a nation. That's when the greatness of America emerge. When we all come together, when we know each other's value. That's what makes us great. I think the fear is by talking about AP African American studies, which say the cruelty of slavery. I think there are some on the right who feel that there may be an uprising. They're a bunch of chickens. But what they don't understand, we're a civilized nation. I think when we know what we went through, and blacks we didn't have any land when they're doing the distribution of land. We didn't have any wealth. I mean, you brought these folks from Africa. We dropped them off here in Americas. And we have the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. No reparation, nothing was done. You left us dry. Now, 150 years later, 2023. Actually, 160 years later, yeah. 1865, yeah, almost 160 years later. You want to tell us that, hey, what we did to you was beneficial. We thought you values. We gave you apprentice. We gave you painting. We gave you domestic service. We gave you transportation, tailoring, carpentry. I mean, it's sickening. But guess what? It doesn't tell me who I am, because I know who I am. We African Americans, we know who we are. This is a unique opportunity for us to rise above the fray and show these folks that we are better and we can do better as a nation. Yes, Mr. Odelson Ambrose, it's unacceptable. Unacceptable. Well, if you have questions at this time, it's already 8:47. I think I've done a lot of talking, and I always encourage your questions. I would love to hear from you, and if not, we'll close it, and then until next time. If you have any questions, there's a time to ask your question, and again, I encourage you to stay tuned, and these things should not definitely make you happy. We are upset as a nation. Well, my fellow Americans, it has been a wonderful time, and I look forward to seeing you. Since there's no questions, I'm going to go ahead and close this segment. Hopefully to see you next Tuesday, God's willing. It'll be August 1st. It will be a new month, August 1st, and we look forward to seeing you on the other end. Until next time, I encourage you to share with your friends. Those of you who watch me on YouTube, stay tuned for all the latest. And those of you who watch me on Facebook, I encourage you to sign up to the Robert Duverny Show by signing on a YouTube account. And that tells me that you're a loyal friend, because Facebook doesn't tell me if you're loyal to the Robert Duverny Show. But when you do subscribe to my YouTube channel, it tells me, hey, I do have some intelligent folks who've been with me through thick and thin, and they're subscribing to the show. Until next time, my fellow Americans, have a lovely evening. Thank you, Mr. Ambrose, for your commendation, and thank you those of you who logged in, who were with me since the very beginning, and we could not have done a better show without you. Until next time, my fellow American, have a good evening. Thank you.